Welcome to the Danny Clinkscale Reasonably Irreverent podcast. Insightful and witty commentary, probing interviews, and detours from the beaten path.
Every once in a while, we have to bring out the big dog.
Yeah.
Oh, God help us. It's time for Danny Unleashed. Sponsored by Easton Roofing, where integrity matters. Go to eastonroofing.com for more.
We'll let a little, Van Halen play.
Why not? Sure.
Greatest American rock band of all time.
I think they have some outstanding songs.
You're clearly not going to agree.
No.
Oh,
Immediately,
no.
Curtis and I both started shaking our head.
Oh, I think they might make the top 50.
Eagles.
You're an absolute moron if you're telling me that they're in the 40s.
Yesterday I looked at a list and it turned into one of those things that you don't want to, there were two,
Right.
Top 25 music producers picked top
So you
25
guys-
bands of all time.
Right.
And so I'm immediately out. First of all, they only did 25 and 24. Then you had to move to another page, which was going to be the end for me anyway. But it was probably the end when number 25 was Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers, and number 24 ahead of them. First of all, there were 24 bands ahead of Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers, which immediately raised a white flag. And then when Lynyrd Skynyrd was the next one, a band I like, but come on. Really? Curtis, your reaction?
I'm with you. 100%.
I like Lynyrd Skynyrd. I think they're good.
Tom
I
Petty,
knew this was a rabbit hole I should never have.
I like Van
into.
Halen. I think Ain't Talking About Love is one of my favorite rock and roll songs.
Okay, that's good. We'll agree. We agree they're good, right?
Oh yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
So there we go. I'm not going to get in here into the minutia.
No.
That's just not
That is
gonna
my
happen.
favorite Van Halen song, I'll say that.
Our man Danny Clinkscale is here. Danny Unleashed is happening
Yes,
right now
it is.
at the Kansas City Steak Company. You can see it, just a whirling dervish of elbows and knobby knees.
True.
As you're decked out in the shorts today.
Yep.
5140 Kansas Ave is where you'll find the Kansas City Steak Company. Listen, I said this. It's up to 80% off while supplies last, and they do keep coming out with more and more and more. All right, but the speed with which these steaks are leaving the refrigerated cases is amazing.
Steady stream of customers buying in bulk.
Just my friend, why wouldn't you when it's up to 80% off?
Right.
My friend Renee Brunetti alone walked out of here with 40 pounds of various steaks. 4 8-ounce top sirloin steaks for $24. 12 4-ounce filet mignon with hickory bacon, only $36. 4 7-ounce stuffed boneless chicken breasts for $15. 3 1-pound packages of bacon flight. That's pepper, applewood, and hickory smoked. Only $12.
How about the 8 4.5-ounce steak burgers for $14?
I don't know how they can do it. To be honest with you,
I think I know how they can do it, but they certainly are pulling the pants down and exposing the Wendy's of the world for the price they will charge you for a quarter-pound burger.
Yes, that is a tremendous positive that Danny just said there. So please know that was a positive.
Yeah,
that Danny was putting out there.
Absolutely.
By the way, and real quick, our friend Dan, a friend of the program, came by and he brought Corona Premiers.
He did.
Danny Clinkscale style, like when we used to travel, and I would arrive after you in the
hotel fridge would be, or it would be on ice, whichever.
So when I told Danny not to lock into the Wi-Fi, and he just popped open his computer, do you think he got the message?
No, I've got my own.
You do.
Own hotspot.
Oh, good for you.
Yep.
Proud of you.
Yep.
Okay.
It's
yes,
not
Dan.
exactly lightning quick, but it's working.
Okay. Dan brought by the Corona Premier. So if anybody else wants to bring by a 6-pack of Corona Premier, listen, I'm not going to argue with you. I was going to pop one open because it's not against the law for me to drink on the air. Jed just can't be drinking while running the board. He's the guy.
Can you?
But then I was pretty sure that there probably needs to be an alcohol license here. So I think I'll just leave it for ceremonial purposes here on the table.
Looks better when all 6 bottles are in it.
Most beers you ever had while doing a broadcast, Danny?
Zero.
You've never had a beer in you on the air. I'm going to
Not
call
a
you
full-
a fat-mouth liar.
Not a full one. I've ordered a beer like during the last break of a show and started to drink it in the last few minutes of the show.
Okay.
I just made it a rule because I thought that if people see you drinking a beer and you're on the radio, the tail could grow exponentially. Right. Oh, Clinkscale he was unleashed. I bet he was unleashed. He was sucking down beers while he was.
It's never prevented me. I'm not worried about the tail.
The draft coverage I know features.
That's
some liquid refreshment.
Listen, that's Mike Garozzo's fault. I'm not wearing that one. Guy starts bringing in bottles of wine. What are you supposed to do?
Well, Garozzo's
every ounce of alcohol.
Garozzo's flat out loaded on that show.
Your words. I'm not going to say anything negative about Mike Garozzo.
That's not negative.
Okay.
I love Mike.
I will simply confirm that all alcohol was consumed by Tim Grunhard because it gets him in trouble with his mom. I kept setting all the wine glasses and bottles
in front of
him, and she was watching on the Facebook Live and was just lighting up his phone. Get those bottles away from you. It looks like you're a drunk. Let's go, Tim.
You know, one thing I've
enjoyed
never
it thoroughly.
One thing I've never understood is the guys at the bar who leave their empties on the table like some kind of a badge of honor.
Right.
I mean, take them away.
So you're embarrassed by the amount of alcohol you drink. You're uneasy. I believe that's one of the first signs of a problem.
No, I wouldn't. But if you've had 7 or 8, you don't need to have the visible evidence that you have.
That's what I'm saying.
First of all, what if a local gendarme was to wander into the tavern?
Yeah, okay. I think we've gone as far as we can go before you start getting us in trouble. All right. Kansas City Steak Company, 5140 Kansas Ave, is the location. You can find them online at kansascitysteaks.com, but I am not kidding. It's their huge warehouse sale. Now through Saturday, get up to 80% off. So if you can't make it here today, if you're like, dude, I totally want to get over there, 80% off while the supplies last on all kinds of steaks, filet mignons. I mean, it is awesome. Check out the website, kansascitysteaks.com. Great partner to the Kansas City Royals. You can tailgate in style. Remember, buy you a bunch of steaks right now. When it's 80% off, figure out you're going to go to 8 or 10 Chiefs games and you're going to tailgate. Figure out how many steaks you need right now and come get it while things are up to 80% off. This will be a great time to stock up. If you got a freezer at home, stock up right now. It'll be a phenomenal time to get ready to go with the Kansas City Steak Company. Danny Clinkscale is here.
You bet.
Danny, the news of the day is that the NFL has reinstated, or I guess they have not, they have declined to suspend Tyreek Hill. The Chiefs have now, I would say, reinstated and welcomed him back to the organization and said that he will be at the opening of training camp next week. Are you surprised at the decision?
I am surprised. I don't quite understand the motivation for the league to have no punishment. They've shown in the past that, we were trying to dissect this when we were talking off the air. There's a collective bargaining agreement coming up. There's things that shouldn't play into an assessment of the behavior of a player and the personal conduct policy. They've suspended a player for a half a season once who wasn't convicted of a crime in the recent past. I don't quite get it. Just the wording of their statement is almost like, well, it's out of our hands. We don't have the information. They're not saying anything to the effect that he didn't do anything. It's just that we don't have the information to know whether he did or he didn't.
In 2 different cities, I was asked, is this because of sagging NFL ratings? They do not want to suspend a star.
I think that's a little rich. I mean, there's too many stars in the league for that one individual star who's not a quarterback.
Right.
If this is Aaron Rodgers, maybe I get it. Maybe I'll listen to that or go down that road. Probably won't even do that. No, I don't go for that. I think that there's a lot of things that I could easily craft the statement for the league for 2-game suspension, right this second. They open up with our major concern is about the child. Well, they could just say our major concern is about the child. The child was removed from the care of Tyreek Hill from his home. So clearly his well-being was seen as under some duress due to either the oversight or overt actions of Tyreek Hill, 2-game suspension. To me, that almost warrants more, but hey, I think that the timeline, the way it worked, ended up working from the court of public opinion, which the NFL is an entertainment entity, in the favor of Tyreek Hill. I wrote this last week in a blog at DannyClinkScale.com that...
Brought to you by Easton Roofing.
Yeah, exactly, Easton Roofing. And we'll get to some of the high points of Easton Roofing at the end of the segment. But that the reporter's motivation, or the station's motivation, the news director tried to take the bullet for the reporter, was clearly to paint the situation in favor of Crystal Espinal. But it worked the way she handled it, or the station handled it, by releasing excerpts and then eventually the full tape being released, absolutely worked in Hill's benefit. Because if the whole thing had been played originally, it's not good. I mean, it sounds terrible for Tyreek Hill. But in comparison to the edited versions, there was context and it looked better. Did it look good? No, but a lot of people said, well, that's not so bad. Whereas if it had just been done, if it had been done in reverse, and you heard you should be terrified of me, B, and all that, people would have been horrified, which they should have been. But
I will say, the way it's delivered,
so it really backfired on. Yeah. If that was the intent of the person, it backfired. To me, that behavior, that language, it strains credulity to me that a person who says you use the belt too, that means that he was tacitly admitting to using the belt in corporal punishment. There was damage to the child. It was apparently visible. It strains credulity that there wasn't at least some involvement by Tyreek Hill if he's to admit that he was using corporal punishment. So, hey, I'm weary of this situation. I'm kind of weary of being maybe the more strident voice on this particular aspect. I do think that an NFL football team, and I heard Stan Weber saying kind of the opposite before, and Stan and I agree on most football things because I think he's wiser about football than me, but I do think that NFL teams do have kind of a public trust with their fan base to represent the city. I mean, if they were just the Chiefs, not the Kansas City Chiefs. People root for the Kansas City Chiefs because they're from Kansas City and they love Kansas City, and they get to go to other towns. I wrote in that blog that I was on a plane that day. A man was wearing a Chiefs golf shirt, heading on vacation or at least on business out of town. Clearly, he wanted people to come up and say, "How about those Chiefs? How about Pat Mahomes? You must be from Kansas City." So they are a representative of your city.
Sure.
But the Chiefs kind of slow played this.
I'll take exception with that.
I do. I think
that makes it sound like they engineered or doctored. They played this exactly how it, and I don't like the term played because it makes it sound. They handled this the way you should handle it. The audio was released. He was suspended immediately from the team. Immediate action.
Right.
But they let the information play out. Let the NFL give their answer. And then when the NFL said they're not suspending him, they reinstated him.
Based on what the NFL said today, I will cede that point somewhat to you. I kind of disagree with the whole narrative, but then again, he wouldn't be on the football team if I was in charge originally. But if the league is saying the information is under wraps, we can't get it, then I suspect the Chiefs can't get it either, and they don't know.
Right. So I will say this, right? There is, since the man was found guilty of nothing and the NFL ultimately chose no discipline, there's a case to be made that the Chiefs would have been well within their rights to simply say, yeah, he's in good stead. Until he is charged with a crime, we're not going to do anything. I mean, they took more action than theoretically they had to.